Dr. T. Dr. T, but let me take care of some business before I get to Dr. T, because we can talk. We can talk. I am Dr. Barbara Swinney. I'm your life and holistic leadership coach and coach trainer. I'm the founder and CEO of Deeper Women Lead Global, a platform established for women in leadership to heal, lead, and leverage their stories and strategies for life, love, and leadership. I am so excited to be on this stage right now with Dr. Tiajuana Smith Pittman. She is an award-winning author, speaker, powerhouse coach. You guys do not want to miss her. So if you have not registered for Deeper Women Speak, which is just in a couple of days, you don't have that long. I don't know what you're waiting on to get registered, but go to deeperwomenleadglobal.org and register for the conference that's going to be held on April 28th and April 29th. Dr. T, just in 2018, we hosted 4 women. I just written my first book, wanted to do a book launch, but didn't just want to do a regular book launch. So I invited 3 of my friends who are also women in leadership to lunch, and I convinced them to host the very first Deeper Women Speak with me. So that year, 4 of us shared our stories and strategies on the stage. A couple of years later, we had 8 women who stood on the stage and shared their stories virtually. Last year in March, we had 22 women to heal, lead, and leverage their stories and strategies from the Deeper Women Lead stage. And I'm so excited,
I'm excited,
Dr. T, that you are one in the number of 20 women.
I'm in there.
Yes, leading and leveraging their stories, teaching other women, empowering other women to heal, lead, and leverage their stories for life, love, and leadership. And that's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. T. Dr. T, tell them just a little bit about who you are.
Well, let me start first by thanking you for the opportunity. Honored to be in a place where I get to experience not only your presence, but the presence of so many powerful women. Although we have not physically gotten together, I tell you, just in the communication alone has been an honor. So let me start with that first. I'm excited. I'm beyond excited about what is about to happen. There is fire in the temple, and I'm expecting the move to be individualized, but also collectively. And so, talking about myself, what can I really say about me that would really impact someone to give an ear, hear the voice that's on the inside of me, which is God's voice. First and foremost, I am the wife of an amazing man, Bishop Michael Pittman. I am the mother and grandmother and great grandmother of some extraordinary babies. Come on here, even if they are grown. I am a lover of nothing but truth. I'm a lover of the Word of God. I'm also a transformational leader, coach, mentor. I am the founder and CEO of Uniquely God Purpose Enterprises. I'm also the creator, host of Uniquely Flawed, The Conversation, the talk show. And I love that. Also a former radio host with praise, different various cities that I was on the radio. And I love radio as well. So I've done that as well. But really, at the end of the day, who am I? I'm a lover of truth. I am unapologetically unique. And I show up in the fullness of that uniqueness. That's who I am.
I love it. I love it. Now, Dr. T, as women on this earth, I think it's a universal issue. We struggle sometimes with being who we are authentically. And I know you talk a lot about that. And I know that's what you work with your clients about. How do you just learn how to sit in the authority of who you are? How do you get to show up just as who you are? What does that process look like?
The key word here is process. We have to, first and foremost, above everything else, be willing to make a decision to embrace the process of being processed. I wish there were a 1, 2, 3 step. I wish it were that easy. But it was not. It was not that easy. A lot of times when we think about showing up in our uniqueness, a lot of times we don't, because we don't know the unique ability of who we are. Set aside the authority, and when you begin to to really get to a place where you, as my grandma used to say, get sick and tired of being sick and tired of you. Yes. And then you get in that thing, and when you choose to wallow in it, when you choose to be lathered in it, when you make the decision, okay, enough is enough. And oftentimes we're mishandled because people will value what they see valued. And if they don't see that, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times if they don't see that. And so when people ask me all the time, well, where did you get this boldness from? Back in eternity, it was already there.
Yes.
It was back in eternity. This is nothing new. You know, the Apostle Paul made that real clear. He said, for real, I want you to be real clear. I have not attained to that. But just because I have not attained to that as of yet, it does not mean that it does not exist. And a lot of times when we think of uniqueness and we think of our authority, we think of our power, we think we're just supposed to show up in it. It's a process. And if we were to be honest about it, it's an ugly process.
Yes.
It's an ugly process. You know, people talk about a lot of times, they say, you know, I had the ugly cry. No, my ugly cry had an ugly cry, and its ugly cry had an ugly cry.
Yes. I was interviewing a young lady on Deeper Conversations, our podcast, and I told her, you know, healing, it takes hard work because it's hard to look at yourself and say, oh my gosh, I'm selfish.
Yes.
It's hard to look at yourself and say, oh my gosh, I'm a mean girl, but I really walk around with this smile trying to fool people like I'm nice.
Right.
That I'm nice. It's really hard to look at yourself, to take that real look, to examine your heart, to see what's in there that shouldn't be, that's showing up, because you know there are no private thoughts. No. Everything shows up in your behavior.
It does.
So thank you for sharing that, Dr. T. It's a process. It's not an overnight thing. No. And I think daily we are being processed. And it's the evolution of us. And I think we're really evolving into who we already were before we came here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It probably takes so long because we don't know what that looks like.
We have no idea. There's no point of reference. Where is the point of reference? And that's what the uniqueness is. It doesn't come in a bottle. It doesn't come from looking at someone else. Yes, we can aspire to. And there are people that we esteem, because you know the word talks about that all the time. But if I'm not esteeming myself at my worst state, if I'm unwilling to be honest about where I am, I have pride. I have a potty mouth. I have lust issues. I'm jealous. I don't like you. I have a po-broke mentality. Those are processes.
Yes.
And when we come into the fullness of who we are, and when we show up in that, then we are no longer just relevant, but we become relatable.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
And that's what people are looking for.
Yes, I love that. Especially as a woman in leadership, sometimes because of the pressure that we get from the outside world, you feel like you can't show up and be yourself because you've got to fit this certain mode. You've got to have a certain look and all of that. But I like what you said about, you know, people are asking you, how do you show up so bold? And it's because we were sent here to take dominion, and you can't be weak and take dominion. Those two things really don't go together.
Absolutely.
So you showed up for an interview for Deeper Women Speak, which is happening this Friday and Saturday. What compelled you? What drew you to the Deeper Women Speak stage?
What drew me was one word: deeper.
Oh, wow.
And what I said in my comment in the post was, I'm excited about sharing the depth of my deepness.
Yes.
You know, too often we kind of dumb it down, but there is a deepness to all of us.
Yes.
There is a depth that is very unique that no one can articulate, and no one can walk into that. I was drawn to by a word, and God will use whatever.
Yeah.
Use a word, because here again, not everybody can handle your uniqueness.
That is true.
And not everybody can handle the depth of your deepness.
That's good.
And so when I began to just look at that and sense that this is more than just a conference. This is more than just an event. This is a movement to move women, professional women,
Yes.
not just into a place of titleness, if you will.
Yes.
I make up my own words. I make up my own
Yes,
words.
I like it. Title.
I make up my own words, titleness. But to rather, we want to, the world wants us to set a standard, but in the kingdom, you have to be the standard.
Oh, I love
Those
it.
are two different things.
Yes.
So you can set a standard all day long. So I was drawn by a word, but the standard of excellence that I saw in the presentation. And the presentation, again, is not necessarily the logo.
Right.
It's not necessarily the marketing. It can be, when I listen to the videos, I heard something deep calling deep. That's what I heard.
Oh, wow. Oh,
wow.
Wow.
When you were speaking and when you were sharing, because it's one thing to say, I've been through a lot. You're not saying nothing.
Right.
What have you been through? You ain't saying nothing.
Right.
It is the specificity that transforms.
I love it.
When you're able to share that. Now, you can't share it with everybody.
Right.
You can't share it with everybody. Everybody's not for you.
That's right.
But everybody isn't also against you.
That is right.
When we shift from the victim mentality to the victor mentality, it's irrelevant the perspective that you see me in.
Yes.
The perspective is only predicated upon how I am perceived through the eyes of the one who sees all the nastiness, the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
And so that uniqueness is what I saw. I saw it, because God's not so spooky that he just,
Right.
Come on here. He will give you what you need. And what I needed was to hear.
I love it.
And I heard deep calling deep. And I was like,
I love it.
That's good right there.
You talked about it's our job to be the standard. Because we've met standards for a long time.
Yes.
Now it's time for us to be the standard. Dr. T, when my mother passed away right before COVID took over, and I was driving home from the funeral, headed back here to Atlanta, and I just felt this flatness. I felt it wasn't sadness, it wasn't sorrow, it was just flat, almost silent in the car with me, but inside of me. And I remember being at the funeral and listening to people talk about my mother and how great she was and all of that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like Mama was Madam C.J. Walker or somebody. And I was like in the seat or at the foot of this greatness all of my life and didn't recognize how huge she was. And then I didn't recognize that I was really reaching for Mama. And I was saying, well, what do I reach for now? And I realized that I am the reach.
Right.
I had to become the reach. And that's what I want for every woman at the conference to become the reach. Be the thing that people are aspiring to be. The standard. You don't always have to waver. Be the standard. Don't be conform to the ways of the world, but be transformed. I want to see women transform, going back to their native lands, wherever that is.
Right.
Not wanting to do the same thing, but be transformed. What do you want, Dr. T, for the women at the conference?
If I had to be brutally honest, I would say the one thing that in my transformation, in my coming into this place, the thing that was the hardest was having a willingness to accept and embrace the ugly parts. Too often, not just the world, but in Christendom, we are pounced upon in terms of perfection as opposed to progression.
I love it.
Whatever your reach looks like, because it may not be reachable in this season, because there are some flaws.
Yes.
Because there's some tweaking that needs to be done. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
That's right.
In other words, I desire for the women that are coming, and not just the women that are coming into the room, I desire it for the speakers as well. Because
Yes,
we're a work in progress.
absolutely.
I desire above really everything else for us to be willing to collide with whatever that thing is that we'd rather not collide with, and realize that our platforms are not necessarily going to look like someone else's. Your deeper platform may look different than someone else. Yes, aspire, but don't replicate, because you can't replicate.
Oh, I love that.
You cannot.
Oh, you struck something right there. Did you see me like what?
That's real talk right there.
You can aspire, but don't replicate.
No.
There is an audience for everybody.
Absolutely, there is.
So you don't have to covet anything that anybody else is doing. And sometimes when I find myself on social media saying, "Oh my gosh, I need to do that," no, that's not your season for that.
Absolutely,
no, that's not what your healing led you to.
No,
everybody's healing and evolution is going to land them in a different spot, because we're all necessary.
Absolutely.
And if we're all landing in the same spot, I told somebody today, if both of us are doing the same job, then one of us is unnecessary.
Unnecessary. I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Together, like everybody can't be the same puzzle piece, or
why would
somebody,
you?
we just don't need it. Yes.
Why would you? Here's the thing. If I look just like you and I'm trying to replicate you, then how does it benefit those that God has given us a sphere of influence for? When I wrote the award-winning book, Uniquely Flawed, I got a lot of pushback. But for those of you that know me, that are online and hearing me, and now Dr. Sweeney, that did not affect me or infect me. Come on here, somebody. The bottom line to it was, because we didn't want to hear that word flawed, but we went to the deeper part, which was really unprofitable, because you looked at it as saying that, you're not all put together. Well, if the truth really be told, we were all born into sin and shaped in iniquity. But the uniqueness of my flaw has nothing to do with the experience or the encounter, but rather the journey and the process.
I love it. And what people don't realize is, man, we're all going through it. We're all going through something. I had a young lady to come up to me. She wanted to talk to me about something. It took her forever to come and approach me. And I said, "Why were you so nervous to come and talk to me?" She said, "Dr. Sweeney, I'm just intimidated by you." And I said, "Why?" She said, "You just look like you have it all together. And I'm just weird and quirky." I said, "Honey, we're all weird and quirky." I said, "What you don't know is my shirt, my blouse is too little under my jacket.
Come on here.
I'm squeezing in here under my jacket." So we're all covering something up. We all gotta wear a Spanx every now and again.
I love it.
Without having to wear a Spanx. Come on.
I love it. I love it. And the reason why I love that, I love that, Dr. Sweeney, because here again, at the end of the day, when you take off Dr. T, I'm Tiajuana.
Yeah.
And if you're not comfortable in your own skin, it wasn't that I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I hear this bubbling up. It wasn't that I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I wasn't comfortable in my skin around you.
Ooh, that was good.
And that right there,
that was good.
That's deep right there. That
deep.
Is a big part of us as women, as professionals, as mothers, as serial entrepreneurs. Whatever your title is, that is still not your identity. I thank God for all that he's done for us. I thank God for all of the platforms that he's given us and title. But at the end of the day, your identity, you have to be so rock solid in your identity, knowing who you are. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm a Christian. And when we begin to think about that freed me. Writing this book, can I be real for 1 second here? Just be transparent here.
Please do.
All right.
Be more real. You're already being real.
Writing this book. Here we are writing this book, and I'm in my authorish mode. I'm real authorish right now. And I'm believing that, because my request of the Lord was that don't let me write anything that I'm still wounded in. I
Ooh.
don't want to put something out there that when the reader reads it, that they're still hearing the wound, they're still hearing the hurt. I want to be whole in everything.
That's good.
Well, of course, I thought, well, you gave me this, so I'm whole in all these things. Can I tell you? There was one chapter. Get the book. There was one chapter. I ended up, instead of writing for 4 hours, in an embryo state in my study, in the presence of God, because there was still some, catch this, residue.
Yes.
There was still some residue. We can be healed and we can be made whole. But the day that we feel like, okay, I got that, then you don't need it.
That's it.
And I felt like I'm healed in that. So that was sort of like my checklist. Let me check that off.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, let me show you the rest of this. It's sort of, I liken it unto, coming up the stairs after you vacuum the living room, you've swept the floor, and you see that one piece of lint. You're like, I know I just swept that floor. And it is that one piece of lint. And I believe that God is sending the women that are appointed for this hour to come to this conference on the 28th and the 29th. There is a piece of lint that one of these speakers is going to have the spiritual broom to move it to a place where you can sit in it, look at it, examine it, be healed in it so that you can lead others and then be able to get up and leverage it. That transformation may happen in the lives of other people.
I love it. I love it. And that's why we focus so much, Dr. T, on the healing part.
Yes.
Because you've probably been under the leadership of wounded leaders.
Absolutely.
It is very difficult to lead others when you're not able to lead yourself.
Absolutely.
That's why we have to go ahead. We have to lead in the healing, really, in ourselves. Sometimes we're healing the leader, and sometimes we're leading the healer. So we have to really take the time to dig into all of that stuff that you said earlier. Sometimes it's ugly. Get to the bottom of it so that we can lead. And you cannot leverage while you're still wounded.
You cannot.
Think about it. It's hard to pick up something if you're hurting.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So I'm just excited for these women to come here and experience you. Listen, you've given us 22 minutes and 50 seconds of straight power.
I got one more thing to add. Can I add one more thing?
Add it, Dr. T.
Now, here's the thing. When I really think about, deeper, the depth of my deepness, at its core, it came from a place because I was leading while bleeding. And so God has raised you up in this hour. He's raised all of us up in this hour to come and to partner with what he's doing in the earth so that woman doesn't have to go back in her home, on her job, in her occupation, in her mind, in her body, and lead while bleeding. And you're absolutely right. I have been under many leaders that were bleeding, but because no one had the oil, no one had the uniqueness, no one had the fortitude, no one was willing to say, I don't know what to do with you, Tiajuana. You don't conform. You're not a conformist. We say go left and you want to go right. And it's good to go right, and right is right. But we don't know what box to put you in. So, conformity is, to me, is so overrated. I'm a transformist. I'm a transformer at the core, but that is because I was transformed by no man. I was transformed on the backside of the mountain where they didn't have a Target, they didn't have a Nordstrom, they didn't have a Cheesecake Factory. There was nobody back there but me and Jesus.
You know what, Dr. T? And that's exactly why I do this work. Because when I started my journey of healing and leading, people weren't talking about their hurt. Especially women in leadership, because we have to be so hidden and we've got to look a certain way and you got to act a certain way. And it was just perpetual defeat. Because we are killing ourselves by not living ourselves.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That is That's exactly why I started telling my story out loud, because the more I kept it a secret, I just felt like I was taking, something that was really good and could be powerful and making it feel dirty. A lot of
Absolutely.
stuff that happened and a lot of things that happen to us is not our fault, but it's certainly our responsibility. And it's
Mm-hmm.
when you take 100% responsibility for where you are, that's when you get your power back. That's when you get to take your power back from all of the things that have been snatching it away from you. That's how you stand in the authority of who you are. You take
Absolutely.
100%, because when I take responsibility, I get to choose how to heal it.
How to heal it.
And I don't have to depend on you for my healing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the power of taking responsibility. And that's kind of the number one step. When you're ready to heal, you got to pull up a chair to the edge of yourself.
I love that.
And observe yourself. Why do I behave the way that I do? Because a lot of the healing is not healing from the hurt, it's healing your identity. Because
Exactly.
you've attached your identity to things and people and entities and ideals. And when those things crumble, it's like, oh my gosh, well, who am I really?
Right.
And that's the sweet spot for God. When you start asking those questions, trying to figure it out. I love Miles Monroe's quote about you don't start believing until you truly start doubting, until you start
Absolutely.
doubting all of the stuff that
Absolutely.
you've been taught. I was raised in church just like you.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised there, and sometimes people will put religion and church on you without showing you the beauty of having a real relationship with God. Having that real intimacy and understanding that He is fully real and operational and functional in your life. And there's a certain path that we're supposed to be following. Everybody is out here trying to find their purpose when your purpose has already been identified for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with all of that.
Quiet and still for just a little while. He'll show you how your gifts align with the purpose.
When we think about our gifts will make room for us, we think that is an easy process. For me, it was not. And Dr. Swinney, I did not grow up in the church. My whole family was saved. I was a heathen that was out there doing their own thing. Right. My heathenness had heathenness. Come on here, somebody. And I just want to be real clear with that for that woman that is a professional that may feel like, well, I didn't have that. Well, I didn't have that either. And it wasn't because it wasn't, on the table, wasn't an option for me. Those were my choices. And the choices that I made were linked to who I thought I was. And when you come from a place of uniqueness and you don't know what it is, people will put labels on it, even in the church, put labels on it. You're just too fast. Well, why are you asking that? Why are you doing that? They loved me, but they didn't know what to do with me.
Right.
And I want to speak to that woman that may be coming, that may feel like, I've always felt like an outcast. It's not that you were an outcast, because I actually say in my book, that I felt like I was cut from a different cloth. And you can be, and it can be for purpose. The uniqueness is for purpose. When you start talking about relatability, when you start talking about showing up, and you start talking about, it's hard sometimes to move out of what people only want to see you as. Again, my mantra, but I lived it. It's not some cliche. It's not some trademark. It's not something I read on the internet. I'm not where you left me.
That's good. That's good.
And when you come to that place, you recognize, I want to go back to something that you said. We have to heal first. We're too busy trying to level up.
Yes.
We're too busy trying to lead other folk, and you toe up from the flow up.
Yes.
Get your behind somewhere, your happy hips, and sit down.
Right. Sit down.
Sit in his face and allow him. I love that song by Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. We think that's just, Man in the Mirror has a nice beat, but it's prophetic.
Yes.
And so I asked the Lord one day to show me. What's so wrong with me? Why am I being so rejected?
Yes.
And I'm thinking that being rejected, whether it's family, whether it's relational, whether it's, in your job, but really, Dr. Swinney, I was rejecting myself.
That's good. That is
So
good.
I believe that this isn't, by happenstance. And you said that it has, and people may not realize, but it has cost you something. Whether you say it or not, it has. It has cost you something to talk about what we don't want to talk about.
Yes, it has. Yes.
People don't want to talk about, being flawed. And when I wrote the book, there were so many emotions that I had with it, but I wasn't scared to put it out there, because here's the thing: with ask the question, well, how do I know this process will work? Well, you're holding it in your hands.
Right. Absolutely.
It's not something that I just wrote just to be writing, that was trending. I lived this. This is my life. Yes. So I'm giving you an opportunity behind the veil to see all my nastiness. I'm not going to tell you, read the book.
Yeah, read the book. Go get the book. Where can they find the book, Dr. T?
They can find it. Of course, it's on Amazon, because all your cousins love to have Amazon, but they can actually go to my website at www.tiajuanapittman.com. Real simple. Full service. Get everything you need there.
Good stuff.
And
that is good stuff,
Dr. Sweeney, an opportunity to read the introduction. Read the introduction for free. So that you can get a taste of the flavor and recognize, again, I just said this to someone the other day, and really talking about you. I said, what I love is I don't get the title first. Too often as women, especially professionals, the first thing that I'm greeted by is your title. And I'm not knocking anyone for their title. We praise God for that. But we have got to get back to allowing the most authentic part of myself, the woman,
absolutely,
to be introduced first.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. So you have a fellow speaker. I can't see all of the people who are making comments, but I do see Miss Mika Davis on here. She's one of our signature feature leaders. She'll be at the conference doing the word party. So you guys need to come out to Deeper Women Speak April 28th and 29th to experience Mika's word party. Go to deeperwomenleagueglobal.org. Register for this conference. She will be there on day one. Let's get to work. There is so much work out here to do, and we can't do it alone. That's why we need a community of us. And I'm super excited that Dr. T is now a part of the Deeper Women League Global community. Yay! Dr. T has become a fast friend and sister of mine. I can't wait to see you, Dr. T, at the reception on Thursday night. I'm so looking forward to meeting all of you. So go and register. You need to be there. deeperwomenleagueglobal.org. Register for this conference. You will hear this powerful message from Dr. Tiajuana Smith Pittman. Dr. Tiajuana, is there anything else that you want to share with them before you leave?
The only thing I want to share with the women that are coming, and also to the speakers, come on in the room. Yes. And when you come in the room, come in the fullness of where you are.
Yes.
Don't come into the room looking to conform to anybody but yourself. Show up in the fullness of who you are. That's my prayer for you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Dr. T, for sharing this time with me. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Thursday night at our speakers reception. And I'm looking forward to every woman to show up, come and get the thing that you're supposed to have. Yeah. You will leave this conference transformed. We're not looking for behavior modification anymore. We're not putting on airs. We're not trying to look like a thing that we thought we saw.
Right.
We are looking for you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Good night to all of the people. Go to deeperwomenleagueglobal.org. Register for Deeper Women Speak. Meet Dr. T and all of the other 19 powerful women that will be there. We look forward to seeing you on Thursday. I'm sorry, on Friday.
On Friday.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, wait, we've got some latecomers. Hold on. Wanda Bullock. Good evening, Miss Wanda.
Oh.
I think Wanda signed up for the conference. Wanda, we're so looking forward to seeing you there. I think I saw your name come through today. We are super excited. The rest of these people are showing up just as Facebook users, so I'm not sure who's chiming in, but you did have an audience tonight, Dr. T.
We thank God. We thank God.
All righty. We will see you. We'll see you at the conference.
See you at the conference.